naman po. Okay. Last meeting, we were able to discuss the conditions, working environment, what the law provides, what is expected from the employer in terms of providing for a safe and healthy work environment. For today, for tonight, our meeting discussion is all about human factor. So let's begin with our discussion. Okay. Okay. Our discussion is, or my presentation is good for 2 hours. Ano? Medyo mahaba to. This consists of around 19 slides. So what we will do is we will just be discussing half of that slides, and then we will have the remaining slides next meeting or on Tuesday next week, para at least hindi natin gaano ma-consume yung data ninyo. Okay. So, let us begin. And as mentioned a while ago, our topic or issue for tonight is human factor in the organization. Now, one basic question is, why do we need to study human factor in the organization? Let us always remember that business could not operate without human beings. Kaya hindi kaya o hindi makakapag-operate ang negosyo kung walang taong nag-ooperate para sa employer. We are now in the fourth industrial revolution, or the artificial intelligence era. Computers who could work alone, pero still somebody should press the button. Kailangan pa rin ng tao na mag-ooperate ng system or ng program ng artificial intelligence before it could do what is instructed from it. Kaya kailangan natin pag-aralan yung human factor in the organization. Most of the times, employees tend to be dissatisfied because of situations brought about by either internal or external factors. Kapag sinabi nating internal factors, ito yung mga factor na merong direct relation doon sa work employee. Okay? While kapag sinabi nating external factor, ito yung mga puwersa other than the work environment itself. Katulad halimbawa ng pandemic na nangyari, this is an external factor. Okay, so dissatisfaction may be brought about by these factors. Ano? It is not limited to financial aspect, work environment, which includes peers, superiors, client, location, and of course the work itself. So madami mga factor, madami mga aspect na kailangan i-consider para masabi na satisfied si employee or hindi. Contentment, there is also contentment. Ano? Kasama din dito kapag kontento si employee sa kanyang trabaho, sa sweldo niya, kung paano yung pagtrato. Okay, these demotivators, ang tawag doon demotivator, ano? Humihila pababa doon sa productivity ni employee. If left unattended, would cause personal problem like habitual absenteeism, paulit-ulit na pag-absent, lack of initiative, walang kusang palo, ayaw niya siya yung mag-initiate, gusto niya inuutusan lang siya. Less production or less productivity, loss of self-esteem, and agitation, pagkabalisa. So itong mga ito, ito yung nagiging cause, ito yung magiging outcome if employees are demotivated. Therefore, the employer should do something. Kailangan merong gawin si employer para mawala itong mga demotivators na ito. And in effect, it would instead motivate employees to be at their best. As a human being, the employee encounters problems that might affect their productivity. Ngayon, it is now the duty of the employer to provide for a set up plan that will solve problems which eventually would be the latter's indirect woe. Or yun nga, magiging problema ni employer kung demotivated, kung dissatisfied yung kanyang mga employee because it will bring about less productivity nga. At the end of the day, still the employer should look at this as his problem din naman. Hindi lang basta problema ni employee yung pagiging dissatisfied niya. It is also the problem of the employer. It is upon the company to have its own wellness program for the promotion of the welfare of its employees. Yung mga company, with the help of HR practitioners, with the help of the staff in the HR department, should arrive at a well-analyzed wellness program. Halimbawa, yung nangyari ngayon, itong period na ito is a pandemic. Kailangan, at the beginning ni pandemic, the employer, with the help of HR practitioners, should have a foresight on what to do. Kailangan nila mag-analyze at tignan kung ano ba yung mga dapat nilang gawin para matulungan din naman yung mga employees. Sa part ng government, what they did is binigyan muna nila or they allowed different companies na magbigay ng early 13-month pay sa mga employee. Also nagkaroon ng skeletal provision noong time ng pandemic to the point na hindi dapat during that time magtanggal ng empleyado for the purpose na magkaroon din si employer. No, hindi ganoon dapat ang gawin ni employer. The employer should study kung ano ba yung dapat gawin para matulungan din naman si employee because it's not the fault of the employee na nagkaroon ng pandemic sa atin. They should develop guidelines that will redirect employees' attitude to attain a positive behavior at its optimum. So, kailangan gumawa ng paraan ng employer para yung pagiging balisa ng employee dahil nagkakaroon nga ng pagkabalisa particularly ngayon. Yung mga employee, they do not know what will happen. They do not know what is at stake for them. Yung future nila, hindi nila alam kung sila ba ay matatanggal, mawawala ng trabaho, etc. etc. So, kailangan gumawa ng paraan si employer para matanggal yung mga ganitong agam-agam o para matanggal yung ganitong pagkabalisa ng kanyang mga empleyado. So, yan yung una, kailangan niyang tignan sa side ng employee kung ano ba yung mga programa na dapat niyang pagplanuhan and of course, natural, kailangan na i-implement. Yes, it is a cost, expensive sa part ng employer, pero it is also a part of their corporate social responsibility. The responsibility rin nila na pangalagaan ang welfare, ang well-being ng mga employees nila. At wag lang yung puro kita nila. Okay? Kasi kapag mawawala yung mga employees na yan, it would also affect greatly the productivity ng trabaho o ng business ni employer. Now, aside from wellness program, disciplinary measures is another remedy to be undertaken by the employer to instill consciousness among the employees. Kapag napansin naman ni employer na pathetic si employee, negligent si employee, habitual na absent si employee, habitual na tardy si employee, kailangan po naman na merong gagawing countermeasure para medyo gisingin ng konti si employee. This action should be more corrective. Corrective dapat yon instead of punitive. Kapag sinabing punitive, puro parusa, puro penalty. But it should come in the nature of corrective para baguhin yung maling behavior, maling attitude ni employee. One activity that should be done by the employer with the help of an HR practitioner is to provide for counseling. Kailangan magkaroon ng isang counseling program si Human Resource Department. Kasi sa pamamagitan ng counseling, makikita ni employee na si employer ay nasa tabi lang niya, sa agapay niya, tumutulong sa kanya para ma-solve yung problem. Okay, the employer, through its Human Resource Department, may resort to counseling as a means of dealing with employer-employee grievances. So instead na puro reklamo, instead na puro mag-file ng complaint, mag-file ng kaso, daanin mo na sa counseling. Ano ba yung counseling? The counseling is a dialogue, pag-uusap between persons aimed at discussing actual or impending problems or grievances. Purpose of it is for mutual gain and benefit. So ang counseling ay isang roundtable discussion kung ano ba yung problema. I-discuss yung problema, pag-usapan kung ano yung problema, and to come up at a mutual and acceptable decision which would gain, which would benefit both the employer and the employee. Ayun, while having counseling, it should be done in a comfortable and non-threatening environment. Kailangan kapag nag-uusap si employer-employee, there is this conducive environment. There is this ambience na hindi sila nag-agitate, hindi sila nagsisigawan. Isang ambience na mas lalo magpapalamig ng ulo nila to come up at a more feasible decision. The counselor should possess also certain qualities, abilities to enable him to understand verbal and non-verbal claims of employees. He should also be emphatic, not sympathetic, to aid him in identifying real issues and to arrive at a balanced and well-thought decision. Kaya nga, yung nasa HR, most of them should have not only a background in psychology, kundi an open-minded characteristic para makita kung ano ba yung real problem at hindi lang yung superficial problem. Kasi maaari mangyari na superficial lang yung binabato nila sa roundtable discussion, pero more than that, deep inside, mas may malaking problema. Ano ba yung mga dimensyon ng pagdidisiplina? How should discipline be viewed? Paano ba dapat tignan ang pagdidisiplina ni employer sa kanyang mga empleyado? Meron tatlong dimension. Yung una, it is a mean of telling the employee what is expected from him or from her. Okay? Isa daw itong paraan para malaman ni employee ano ba yung ine-expect ni employer na gawin niya. Ano ba yung inaantay? Ano ba yung dapat gawin employee? The employee should know Hindi po pwede na pagpasok ng employee, automatic he knows or she knows everything na ina-expect sa kanya ni employer. So kailangan sabihin ni employer, this is what I expect from you. Ang tawag doon ay leveling of expectations. Sinasabihan ka agad ni employer, okay, this is what you should do. Now, yung number 2, it is a mean of ensuring that the employee do what is expected for him to do. Since alam na niya na kung ano ba yung inaasahan sa kanya ni employer, sinisigurado naman niya. Okay? Pinasisigurado naman niya na, since alam ko na, then I will do what is expected from me. Dahil nabanggit na sa akin, na-lay down na sa akin yung premises kung ano ba yung dapat kong gawin. And pangatlo, is a mean of correcting or reforming employees from committing any infraction. Okay? Kino-correct lang, tinatama lang, binabago lang yung mga empleyado para wag na ulitin yung paglabag na ginawa nila. For him to refrain from committing the same violation. So ito yung tatlong dimensyon, no, how discipline should be seen. Okay? Para malaman yung kung ano ba inaasahan ni employer, mapaniguro na gagawin ni employee dahil alam na niya. And pangatlo, ito yung paraan para baguhin ni employee yung kanyang attitude or yung behavior niya. We have different types of penalties, Let us have them one by one. Now, again, these penalties should be corrective. Okay? Corrective para mabago. At hindi punitive. Hindi yung kapag may ginawa, parusahan yan. Okay? May ginawa lang konting mali, ibitay na yan. O kaya, ipakain na sa leon. So, ganun yung dati, di ba? Those were the days na medieval period pa. Ipakain sa leon. Ipatapon sa malayong lupain. Pero this penalty should be seen corrective. Tinutulungan ni employer si employee. Binabago yung pangunawa ni employee dahil sinasabi ni employer what you did was wrong. Para hindi mo na ulitin, para magtanda ka na. So some penalty should be provided by the employer through the HR department. Later, pag-aaralan natin yung proseso. Kasi hindi po pwede, guys, students, ladies and gentlemen, hindi po pwede na immediate na i-implement yung penalty. There should be due process. May proseso dapat yan. Otherwise, po pwede makasuhan si employee, si employer. Okay. Now, ano ba yung mga penalties in store or allowed by law? We have, number 1, reprimand. What is a reprimand? It is a corrective action usually instituted to lighter offenses sa mga mabababang violation. Mabababang nagawa na mali ng mga employees. Reprimand may either be a verbal reprimand or a written reprimand. Kapag sinabing verbal reprimand, it is just the calling of attention. Tinatawag ni employer yung attention ni employee na yung ginawa niya ay mali. Okay? Calling the attention of the employee that what he did was wrong. Yun yung verbal reprimand. Kapag sinabi natin written reprimand, this would come through a memorandum. Meron ng memo na kaakibat yung warning. Kasi reprimand means warning. What is the difference between a verbal reprimand from a written reprimand? Aside from the fact na oral si verbal. Kasi si written reprimand, yung memorandum na binigay kay employee dahil meron siyang maling ginawa is attached sa kanyang 201 file. medyo mabigat yun. Why? Kasi it would be or it could be a factor para medyo hindi siya ma-promote agad kasi meron siyang ginawa. It is a reminder kay employer or reminder kay HR na meron siyang nagawang paglabag some other time. Pero both of them are penalties para sa lighter offenses din. So, ang sabi rito, it is a reminder that a repetition of the same would merit a higher or stiffer penalty. Para siyang medyo tapik sa balikat na, wag mo na ulitin. Kasi the moment na uulitin mo, mas mabigat na parusa ang ibibigay sa iyo. Another type of penalty is suspension. Suspension is an action which involves disbarment from entry in the premises of the company. Bawal pumasok. Okay, you are disbarred. You are not allowed entry. Hindi ka pwede magtrabaho. Hindi mo pwede gawin yung trabaho na kailangan mong tapusin. During the period of suspension, suspended employees are not allowed to perform functions. And since hindi sila po pwedeng magtrabaho, hindi sila pumasok, wala silang ginawang task, wala silang sweldo dahil wala silang trabaho na gawa. So, there was a question once, sana sa akin, may nagtanong, Sir, if an employee is suspended, pwede ba niyang gamitin yung kanyang service incentive leave? Meaning, yung kanyang vacation leave or yung kanyang sick leave para mabayaran yung araw na siya ay suspendido? And my answer is no. Hindi niya pwedeng gamitin yung sick leave, yung kanyang vacation leave para mapunan yung araw na siya ay suspendido. Why? Dahil kapag pinayagan yun, yung mga leave na ito, maaaring with pay. Okay? So kahit na hindi pumasok si employee, mababayaran siya. So what is the effect of this? Kung papayagan yung paggamit ng service incentive leave, sick leave or vacation leave para kapalit ng suspension, parang walang suspension na nangyari. Okay? Parang hindi suspendido si employee kasi babayaran din siya. Ang kaso kasi, si suspension, this is a penalty para magtanda ka. So walang pagtatanda na mangyayari. Gaano ho ba katagal yung pinakamahabang suspension? Okay. According to the rule of DOLE, the longest suspension should be at least 30 days, 30 araw. Okay, 30 days. Why? Kapag lumagpas ng 30 araw yung suspension ni employee, then pwedeng mabalikan ni employee sa employer at pasuhan niya ng illegal dismissal because this would constitute as constructive dismissal. So guys, tandaan nyo the most number of days para suspension hanggang 30 araw lang na suspension. Hindi po pwede ng more than 30 days katulad ng 1 taon, 2 taon. Ano ba yung magiging epekto nun? 2 taon na suspendido, di ba? So baka mamaya mabalikan ni employee sa employer instead na naturuan ng leksyon ni employer sa employee, siya naman ngayon yung kasuhan ni employee because it may constitute as illegal dismissal. And suspension under this provision is a penalty. Kasi we have two classification of suspension. The first one is suspension as a penalty, and number 2, suspension as preventive suspension. Ano ba yung preventive suspension? Okay. Yan, ito po yung preventive suspension. It is an action, method, or given to employees while the case, tandaan nyo case is being heard and subjected to due process as a requisite. So, yun ang kaibahan nun. Yung kanina suspension, yun na yung determination dahil may mali siyang ginawa. Meron ng decision. And ang naging action ay employee ay suspendido. Pero si preventive suspension, wala pang napapatunayan dito. Okay? Kasi gumugulong pa yung kaso. An investigation is still being held. Na iniimbestigahan pa. Kung meron bang katuturan, yung reklamo na i-file laban kay employee o walang katuturan. Sir, why do we need to have preventive suspension? Ano ba yung reason kung bakit kailangan ng preventive suspension? The purpose of preventive suspension is in order that the suspended employee does not interfere or cause undue influence over the other party. Under preventive suspension, ang isang empleyado, he is also not allowed to enter the premises. Bawal din siya pumasok. Bawal din niyang gawin yung trabaho niya. In fact, even yung kanyang pag-communicate sa mga tao inside the company is also not allowed. Baka kasi, kung siya ay papayagan na pumasok habang gumugulo yung kaso, maaari niyang impluwensyahan. Maaari niyang pakialaman yung pagdinig ng kaso. Okay? Maaari siyang gumawa ng paraan para ma-manipulate yung magiging desisyon ng board or ng body investigate ng kaso. Also, preventive suspension may be given to employee if there is a serious threat to the life and property of the employer or his co-employees. Kung sa palagay ni employer na yung patuloy na pagpasok niya ay nalalagay sa panganib yung buhay niya, then pwede niyang ilagay under preventive suspension yung inireklamo employee. To effect the legality of preventive suspension, such should not exceed 30 days. So we have a rule, under the labor code then, IRR, Omnibus Rules implementing the labor code. It says that the most number of days that a person may be placed under preventive suspension ay 30 days, 30 araw, katulad din ng suspension. Okay? It means that the employer or any of his representative who is charged, yung nag-iimbestiga, who is charged in investigating the alleged complaint, kailangan magbigay na sila ng desisyon within that period, within 30 days. Now, more than 30 days, yung preventive suspension employee, what will happen? It will turn to constructive dismissal. Okay? It will turn to constructive dismissal which is actionable. So, pwede namang mag-file ng illegal dismissal si employee laban kay employer dahil constructively dinismiss siya ni employer. Pero ano po ba yung ibig sabihin ng constructive dismissal? Sinabing constructive dismissal, it exists where there is cessation of work because continued employment is rendered impossible, unreasonable, or unlikely. Halimbawa, an offer involving demotion in rank or a diminution in pay and other benefits. Likewise, exists if an act of clear discrimination, insensibility, disdain by an employer becomes so unbearable on the part of the employee that he could have no other choice but to resign or let go of his employment. Ang tawag doon ay constructive dismissal. Halimbawa lang guys, ang bahay niya ay sa Valenzuela. Yung kanyang tinutuluyan ay sa Valenzuela. Yung company, yung business kung saan siya nag-work ay sabihin natin sa Caloocan City. Pero, si employer, sinabihan si employee na everyday, mag-report ka doon sa planta natin sa Mindanao, sa Zamboanga. Everyday, mag-report ka doon. Just imagine, very unbearable yung ganun. It's impossible, ano? Or next to impossible, araw-araw magpo-commute siya at his own expense from Valenzuela to all the way to Mindanao, to Zamboanga. It is a shortcut of saying na mag-resign ka na lang kapag very unbearable sa part employee. Another example, kung halimbawa this employee is a PWD, person with disability, sabihin natin na may problema siyang maglakad, and yet ang ipapatrabaho sa kanya employer ay maglalakad ng milya-milyang haba from one place to another. So again, it is unreasonable. So the moment na ganito yung ipapagawa ni employee at wala ka ng choice kundi mag-resign, so pwedeng itong term na constructive dismissal which is actionable. Kasi pwede sabihin na ito ay illegal dismissal. So let us go back doon sa kind ng penalty. Another type of penalty is termination or dismissal. It's an act moving the employee among the roster of workers. This action is a recourse in violation of the highest order. Tatanggalin ka na bilang employee. Okay? Yun ang termination. Hindi ka na empleyado ng kumpanya. If an employee would commit a serious offense, a grave offense, then that yung pagtatanggal ng employee or yung pwedeng ipataw na parusa may either be termination or dismissal. So kanina, I mentioned that there is proper procedure in dismissing employee. Pero dalawang basis or two reasons on why employee may be dismissed. Grounds, grounds for termination. The first ground is termination due to just causes. Okay? Termination due to just causes. Ito yung unang ground para ma-terminate si employee. Legal termination to, legal termination. Termination due to just causes. And the other one is termination due to valid grounds. So, dalawang grounds for termination, which is legal. Legal. Just causes and valid grounds. Ano ba yung termination na ang ground ay just causes? Madami, we have 5. Yan. Just causes for termination. Serious misconduct or willful disobedience by the employee of the lawful orders of the employer or representative in connection with his work. Number 1, gross and habitual neglect by the employee of his duties. Number 2, fraud or willful breach by the employee of the trust reposed in him by his or duly authorized representative. Number 4, commission of a crime or offense by the employee against the person of his employer or any immediate member of his family, employer's family to, or his duly authorized representative and other analogous causes. Okay, ano ba yung serious misconduct? Ano ba yung misconduct? Paglabag, misconduct. May ginawa kang mabigat, which is intolerable sa party employer. It's a willful disobedience, kusang loob na hindi pagsunod ng employee doon sa trabaho naman ng employee. A lawful order ni employer or representative. Ano ba yung lawful order ni employer? Halimbawa, yung actual task na gagawin ni employee. Lawful yon. legal order, hindi labag sa batas. Kung kusang loob na hindi sinunod ni employee yung legal na utos ni employer, then that may be a ground for termination due to just causes. Okay. So kapag sinabi naman gross and habitual neglect, paulit-ulit na hindi nagagawa ni employee yung trabaho na dapat niyang gawin. Okay? Yung fraud naman, fraud means panloloko. Panloloko. Niloloko ni employee si employer. Niloloko in the form na kulang yung nire-remit ng pera. Yan. Niloloko sa paraan na binabago niya yung kanyang daily time record. So it may constitute as fraud. Willful breach by the employee of the trust. Yung tiwala na binigay ni employer kay employee, nilabag ni employee. Tulad ng halimbawa na yung mga confidential information, confidential record ng opisina ay ibinigay niya doon sa competitor, employer. Okay? There is a breach of trust, and that also will constitute as economic sabotage part ni employee. First, commission of a crime kapag sinaktan ni employee, si employer, nagnakawan, yan, ground for termination din yun and other analogous causes. So, let us go back doon sa proseso. Ano ba yung proseso ng due process? Kasi the moment na we terminate employee na hindi dumaan sa proseso, pwede tayong balikan ni employee. Okay. Mabigat po yung violation sa part ng employer kung hindi siya or hindi niya dinaan sa procedural due process yung pagtanggal kay employee. Pwede mabaliktad yung kaso. Kahit na merong ground or basis yung termination, pero kung hindi ito dumaan sa tamang proseso, mababaliwala po yung basis ng pagtanggal kay employee kahit na malaki yung basihan. So, ano ba yung proseso na sinasabi natin para pwedeng tanggalin ang employee, again, due to just causes, yung 5 binanggit kanina. Okay, so number 1, yung unang proseso, there should be a written notice sent by HR to the employee and served or received by the employee. Okay, tandaan nyo ha, meron dapat notification, maibibigay na notice si employer or si HR kay employee. And also, dapat natanggap ni employee yung written notice na yon. Kasi kung hindi yan natanggap yung written notice, baliwala yung notice na yon. Kaya nga napakahalaga ng receiving copy every time you give something, especially letters, notices, memoranda, etc. etc. Kailangan ng receiving copy. Ang purpose ng receiving copy, it is a proof, an evidence that the said notice was actually received by the proper party. Kailangan naka-receive yun. And please take note na kapag nagpa-receive kayo, always place the date, the time, and it should be signed by the person who is authorized to receive or by the person himself. So, dadagdag ko rin, yung written notice na yun should give reasonable time to the employee to make proper responses para masagutan niya yung reklamo laban sa kanya. So, every time a complaint is given, the respondent o yung nirereklamo should be given the opportunity to defend himself through allowing him by giving his answer. Also, the written notice should specify the grounds and reason for termination. Dapat ini-inform in detail the employer or the HR, si employee na ito yung reklamo laban sa'yo. Answer all of them. Sagutin mo point by point yung reklamo laban sa'yo. So that is a requirement. Ano? Yung notice na yung kailangan nilalaman. Pangalan ng employee, pangalan nung nagre-reklamo laban sa kanya, at yung rason kung bakit siya mataterminate based on the complaint filed against him. So yung second process is there should be a hearing. Dapat may investigation. Doon na sa full-blown hearing, i-deliberate, pag-uusapan kung meron bang basis yung reklamo laban kay employee. Dapat ba na matanggal si employee? And it is also in that hearing or investigation that the employee may rebut pawalang bisa, pawalang sala yung ebidensya laban sa kanya. Okay. He is also given the right to hire a lawyer. Binibigyan din siya ng karapatan na kumuha ng abogado para depensahan siya. So yun yung pangalawang proseso. The third process is there should be a written notice of termination. Ito na yung decision. So doon sa pangalawang notice, nakalagay na yung basihan kung ano ba yung naging desisyon nung body o yung board na nag-imbestiga or nag-hear ng kaso ni employee. Ang tawag dito, two-notice rule. Okay? Two-notice rule. First notice, nina-notify lang na merong complaint labang kay employee and ano yung ground ng reklamo laban sa kanya. Yung pangalawang notice, andun na yung basis, andun na yung desisyon kung sino mang body yung nag-hear ng kaso laban kay employee. So ito yung napakahalaga. Napaka-importanteng kailangan sundin na proseso. Otherwise, kahit na may basihan, again, ulitin ko kahit na may basihan yung reklamo and ground for termination kay employee, kung hindi dumaan dito, baliwala yung termination. Ito pwedeng baligtarin yung kaso. Kung yung una, unfavorable kay employee, pero dahil hindi sumunod sa proseso, it will be favorable naman kay employee. Let us have some court ruling kung ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng just causes for termination para at least magkaroon kayo ng idea. So in the case of AMA Computer versus Ignacio, ang sabi rito, misconduct to be serious must be grave and aggravated character. It is not merely trivial or unimportant. Kailangan daw seryoso, kailangan daw grabe, kailangan mabigat yung misconduct, yung maling behavior ni employee at hindi lang petty, hindi lang simple. It should be grave, no? Such serious misconduct must be in connection with the employee's work to constitute just cause for separation. Dapat yung ginawang maling behavior ni employee ay may connection or related doon sa trabaho na ginagawa niya. Halimbawa, paano kapag inutusan ni employer si employee na, employee, bilan mo nga ako ng sigarilyo. Sigarilyo. And then the employee said, no, ayoko. Kasi masama ang manigarilyo. Can the employer terminate the employee because of his refusal, hindi pagsunod sa utos ni employer? Hindi po. Okay? Why? Because very petty. Hindi serious yung misconduct ni employee. And also, wala siyang connection doon sa trabaho na ginagawa ni employee. Wala siyang relevance doon sa trabaho na ginagawa ng employee. So yun po yung sabi doon sa case ng AMA Computer versus Ignacio. Another case, Samson versus NLRC. Dito, dinefine kung ano ba yung misconduct. Misconduct is an improper or wrong conduct. Maling behavior. Is a transgression, paglabag, of some established and definite rule of action. Paglabag sa isang company policy. For example, the forbidden act, a dereliction of duty, hindi mo ginawa yung trabaho na nakaatang sa balikat mo. It is willful in character. Kusang loob na ginawa ni employee, yung misconduct na yun. And implies wrongful intent. Meron siyang intensyon na gawin yung paglabag. At hindi lang basta error in judgment. Hindi lang basta lapses in judgment. Another case, Realda versus New Age Graphics. The requisite that refusal should be willfully done and that the order is lawful should be present to justify termination due to willful disobedience. So, ano ba yung requisite or requirement para masabi natin na mayroong willful disobedience? Sabi daw, kung hindi pagsunod, refusal, dapat daw kusang loob. It should be willfully done. Number one, dapat the employee personally refused, ayaw kong gawin yan. Dinidisobey, hindi sinunod the employee yung inuutos sa kanya. And then yung order, yung pinapagawa, should be lawful, legal, or licit. So yun yung dalawang requirement para masabi na merong willful disobedience sa party employee. So yung una, dapat kusang loob na nilabag niya. Kusang loob na hindi sumunod. At pangalawa, yung pinapagawa ay legal. Legal naman. At aayon doon sa trabaho na ginagawa ni employee. Another case, Century Iron versus Banias. Gross and habitual negligence says, negligence na tayo ha. So kapag sinabing meron paulit-ulit na negligence sa party employee, means unauthorized absences. Paulit-ulit na pagliban. Paulit-ulit na hindi pumapasok para gawin yung kanyang trabaho. So, bakit nakalagay dito yung word na unauthorized? Kasi meron tayong tinatawag na authorized absences. Halimbawa, kapag may sakit, yan, authorized absences yan. Or kapag nakabakasyon si employee. Okay. We have several absences that are considered as authorized. Andyan yung emergency leave, andyan yung sick leave, andyan yung vacation leave. Okay? In our new law, we also have solo parent leave. Yan. And then sa mga babae, particularly kapag sila ay nanganak, yung maternity leaves. Those are authorized absences. As long, it is considered as authorized absences as long as the employee was able to procure a letter and approved by his supervisor. Hindi basta bigla na lang siya mawawala o hindi na lang siya bigla papasok. Kailangan alam ni supervisor, alam ni employer yung rason ng kanyang pagliban. Yung rason kung bakit hindi siya pumasok. Okay, now, kapag doon sa mga absences na yon, kaya sinabing authorized, kapag sinabing authorized, halimbawa, nag-sick leave si employee, pagbalik niya, kailangan siyang gumawa at mag-submit ng leave form. Okay? Sick leave form. At ibigay kay employer or kay HR. Para alam ni employer, alam ni HR yung rason kung bakit siya umabsent the day before. Ayun, kung more than 5 days, usually, kung more than 5 days yung absences ng employee and ang reason ng pag-absent niya ay sick leave, yung kanyang leave form should be accompanied by a medical certificate which states kung ano ba yung rason kung ba't siya ay hindi nakapasok. Pero kung isang araw, 2 araw lang, 3 araw lang, then there's no need na magbigay ng medical certificate. Kung 5 pataas, yan, kailangan ng medical certificate. Kung vacation leave naman, the employee should file at least 5 days before yung kanyang bakasyon ng leave form, ng vacation leave form. Sir, bakit po kailangan 5 araw bago magbakasyon si employee? Kailangan niya magbigay ng kanyang leave form. The purpose of this is because maaring ma-disapprove kasi yung vacation leave niya. Kaya kailangan medyo matagal-tagal ng konti para mapag-aralan kung okay lang ba na bigyan or i-allow yung kanyang bakasyon. Si maternity leave naman, well, doon sa bagong maternity leave act natin, pwedeng mag-file si employee at least days or a month before the actual delivery nung kanyang maternity leave. No. So, kung unauthorized absences and habitual, this may be a ground for termination. Also, kapag habitual tardy or kapag merong habitual tardiness si employee, paulit-ulit na siya ay late, then again, negligence sa part niya. Hindi niya nagagawa ng tama yung trabaho niya. So, therefore, this also is a ground for termination. Sa gobyerno, in the government, under the civil service ruling, kung ang empleyado sa loob ng 2 consecutive months, nag-occur siya ng 10 days sa 2 magkasunod ng buwan, 10 days na tardy, then pwede siyang pabigyan ng disciplinary action. Meaning, halimbawa, January, 10 araw na siya late. And then February, another 10 days. So pagdating ng after February, 10 days siya, pwede na siyang bigyan ng disciplinary action dahil 2 consecutive months na nakasampung araw na late si employee. Yun yung sa government. Si company naman may have their own rule pagdating kay tardiness. Gross negligence also mean gross inefficiency. Hindi nagagawa ng tama yung trabaho, puro mali yung ginagawa ng trabaho, despite repetitive trainings, mali pa rin yung ginawa ng trabaho, then that would also constitute as habitual negligence. Carelessness, yan. Gross negligence means absence of or failure to exercise slight care or diligence. There is a disregard of thought to evade them, and it is acted in bad faith. So ito po yung ibig sabihin ng habitual negligence. Another jurisprudence decided by the Supreme Court is found in Jerusalem versus Hack. A court ruled that the requisite for termination due to loss of confidence are as follows. Ito daw yung mga requirement. Para masabi na merong loss of confidence sa part employer. Number 1, the employee should hold a position of trust and confidence. So dapat yung trabaho na ginagampanan ng employee, yung posisyon na hawak ng employee ay confidential in nature. Halimbawa ng confidential position, secretary, auditor, accounting, bookkeeper, yan yung mga halimbawa ng confidential positions. So yun yung number 1, dapat daw yung posisyon, yung trabaho ng employee ay meron trust and confidence. And then, that there must be an act that justifies the loss of trust and confidence, which should be work-related. So yung ginawang paglabag ni employee dapat should be work-related at naaayon at talagang mawawala ng tiwala, mawawala ng kumpiyansa si employer kay employee. Katulad nga nung binanggit ko kanina sa inyo na kapag nag-divulge ng confidential information si employee doon sa competitor ni employer, then that would justify yung pag-terminate kay employee. Yung last part nung just causes ay analogous causes. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng salitang analogous causes? It means gross inefficiency. Ito yung mga halimbawa ng analogous causes. Gross inefficiency, violation of company rules and regulation, and then abandonment of work. Pero ano po ba yung ibig sabihin ng abandonment of work? Kapag sinabi nating abandonment of work, ito yung hindi ka na pumasok, hindi ka nag-file ng proper leave. Ito yung nag-absent ka nang walang paalam. Hindi mo binanggit na ikaw ay absent. Sir, gaano ho ba katagal ang pag-absent ni employee para masabi na meron ng abandonment of work? Under DOLE Regulation 2013, kapag ikaw ay hindi pumasok sa loob ng 30 days without informing your employer, without informing the HR department of your whereabouts or on why you were absent, then abandonment of work ang tawag doon. Okay? Sa loob ng 30 araw na hindi ka pumasok at hindi mo itinaalam yung pag-absent mo, hindi nila alam yung whereabouts mo, hindi mo sinabi kung ano ba yung rason kung ba't ka umabsent, sa loob ng 30 days, under DOLE ruling of 2013, that is abandonment of work. Okay. PG&I Construction Corporation versus SATO. Dito, sinabi kung ano ba yung requirement para mayroong abandonment of work. So, number 1, employee must have failed to report to work or must have been absent without a valid or justifiable reason. So, hindi na kaagad pumasok, bigla na lang umabsent. Wala naman pasabi, wala naman paalam, bigla na lang siya nawala. Okay? Walang valid, justifiable reason. And that there is a clear intention on the part of the employee to sever the relationship. At merong intention talaga, willful na intention si employee na ayaw na niyang pasok. Okay? At wala siyang sinabi rason kung bakit siya papasok. Basta bigla na lang siyang naglaho. So, isang halimbawa yun ng abandonment. Okay, so I guess we stop here kasi the next slides ay para sa next meeting natin. Para hindi kayo ma-bombard masyado ng information, baka sobrang information overload kayo, hindi nyo na alam yung naging discussion natin. So, this discussion is recorded. Naka-record to. Kaya to those of you who would like to have an idea again, balikan kung napag-usapan natin, I recorded this discussion natin. Okay? So, naka 67 minutes na tayo, more than 1 hour again. So, let's end it here for tonight. Salamat sa inyo. Thank you for listening. Stay safe. And again, as I have always said, if you have problems pero hindi na naunawaan, please feel free to contact me doon sa messenger natin para mas mabigyan ko kayo ng detailed na kasagutan. Okay? To those of you na medyo nagkakaroon ng problem sa gadget, please call the attention of Ma'am Villena, no, para at least tignan natin kung paano yung ano maitulong namin sa inyo. Upload na ito doon sa ano doon sa inyong ating GC. Kaya natin nire-record ito. Sana mapanood nyo yung recording kasi our midterm exam will be on the first week of November para kahit na may bakasyon na papakinggan ninyo yung mga discussions natin.